Chelsea could be without one of our most important players for a really tricky return tie tomorrow night at Bournemouth. One of our brand new players who's barely got a minute on the pitch this season is already linked with a return to his former club. Chelsea are targeting another Man City Academy graduate. We're also looking at a future summer move for an ex-Champions League winner. And could the Raheem Sterling debacle finally be over? Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And man, we've got loads to get into today. Obviously, tomorrow night is the return leg against Bournemouth. It was a really frustrating draw last time round. And after the Aston Villa game and the draw against Newcastle, we need to start picking up points somewhere, don't we? So tomorrow night is a huge game for our season and our top four hopes, potentially. But guys, before we get into today's video, if you are enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, so Bournemouth tomorrow, the news pertaining to that. So I am recording this before the press conference, by the way, so we will see what happens when the press conference come out. But as of right now, we could be without Marc Cucurella tomorrow night, which would be a huge blow. Hopefully, do you know what? He probably should miss the game, even if he's okay and fit and available. Man needs a rest. So Marc Cucurella pulled up with a hamstring injury, or a potential hamstring injury, in the Aston Villa game, supposedly asking to be substituted by the manager. We were fortunate enough to see Malo Gusto play another role this season as he deputised at left back in what turned out to be a pretty horrific loss. Being without Marc Cucurella for a long period would be devastating, so if we have to miss him against Bournemouth tomorrow, I think that's probably the lesser of evils at this point, isn't it? He's so important to our season. He's one of the very few players in our team at the moment that I think we could all kind of consider elite, and if we have got a sniff at getting Champions League this season, you can guarantee that Cucurella is going to be a really important part of that. So kind of to back off of the left back issue that we've got at the moment, another massive piece of news that has just come out is Hato is supposedly wanted to return by Ajax. There is a little bit to unpack, and I say a little bit, there's quite a lot to unpack with this particular piece of news. I was really excited when we bought Hato, man. I was like, finally, because Cucurella played like every single match last season, and yes, he's absolutely amazing, but as we've seen with the likes of Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, yes, these players are great, but when you play them non-stop for a whole season, they start to get tired. They start to, you know what I mean? These guys need a rest in order to keep up their fitness. So we all thought Hato coming in, perfect deputy in terms of age, ability, profile. A little bit different, like he's obviously a lot bigger than Marc Cucurella is, but he is a versatile left back who can play in midfield. He can play at left centre back. He got 6 assists for Ajax last season, so he clearly has some attacking contribution in him as well. But for some reason, Enzo Maresca just doesn't fancy him, like, at all. I don't know what it is, man. It's crazy. For a team who have rotated more than any other team this season, by the way, we've made over 100 changes to our starting 11 in our matches, which is a league high by far. And even with that, Hato's barely managed to get a sniff. And when he has, the positions haven't always been the same either. Sometimes we played him as a centre-back when we were having our centre-back crisis. Sometimes we've played him as a left-back. But ultimately, he hasn't played enough games to justify the 45 million spend. And ultimately, him as a 19-year-old is going to be like, why have I made this move to Chelsea and I'm not getting a sniff? Marc Cucurella has been amazing, don't get me wrong, 100%, absolutely brilliant. But at the same time, Marc Cucurella's brilliance is the reason that Hato should be playing more. We should be looking to protect Marc Cucurella just as much as anyone else in the squad, and Hato seemed to be the answer to that. We've seen it a few other times as well, haven't we, with players that Maresca just doesn't seem to fancy, one of which I think is actually Andre Santos as well. The thing is, this news isn't actually new. So there was already, I remember reporting on this like a month or two ago, Hato was already considering a move away in January because he's just not getting any game time. And can you blame him? He was a really prominent player for Ajax last season, and we beat a few other teams to his signature when we bought him as well. So this one just absolutely doesn't make sense for me. We should be playing Hato more. He is obviously a good player. There's obviously something in there, but Maresca obviously just doesn't trust him. This seems like a bit of an oxymoron at the end of the day. Maresca signed up to this model. Look, we can talk about the model. The model is not necessarily bearing the fruit that we want to, but when Enzo Maresca signed up to the model, it's like, you're going to get young players and you're going to need to play these young players so we can develop them. He would have said, yes, that's fine. But he's just not doing it. He doesn't seem to trust the young players, man. Josh Achiampong has been not playing nearly enough, although playing pretty well. We're not seeing much of Andre Santos. We're not seeing anything of Yorbe Hato, barely. So I don't really understand Maresca's need to rotate so much, but we've got players like Yorbe Hato who could develop into good squad players if they were given the opportunity. So what happens if we loan Yorbe Hato back to Ajax, right? This is the question, isn't it? Because so the first thing is we would need to recall a player from loan in order to make this happen. We've only got 6 international loan spots, and as of right now, they are all taken up. The most obvious one that has already been talked about is bringing back Aaron Anselmino from Dortmund to reinforce our centre-back depth. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. 20-year-old player. I actually said he was 18 in my last video. I was wrong on that. He is 20 years old. He's having a really good season out there. They've been interested in purchasing him permanently, and we've said no. So, and there has been some talks about maybe bringing him back in January anyway. So in order to get Yorbe Hato out on loan to Ajax without having to sell him, we'd need to bring a player back. Aaron Anselmino seems like the only one there. The problem with that, Aaron Anselmino, not a left back. The only player we would have in our squad at that point that can actually play left back is Malo Gusto, and Malo Gusto is not a left back. As you know, he's played pretty well in midfield and ultimately does play quite well at right back whenever the rare occasion is we actually play some sort of normal right back. But do we now just defer to Malo Gusto being the left-back backup for the rest of the season? Is that a good idea? I'm not 100% convinced, to be completely honest. The other option we've got, we could recall Ishe Samuel-Smith from Swansea, which was another ridiculous transfer saga, by the way. Ishe Samuel-Smith, academy player, doing really well. Gets sold to Strasbourg. Cool. Seems like a good idea. Cheap sale, he can go and get a lot of game time out there and he stays part of the, the family or whatever you want to call it. Then we sell Ben Chilwell right at the end of the season to Strasbourg, and in order to make that happen, we reverse the sale of Ishe Samuel-Smith to Strasbourg and we send him out on loan to Swansea. He's not really getting any game time out there either. So Ishe Samuel-Smith was thought to be good enough to play in Strasbourg's first team and potentially in Swansea's first team. So other than calling up another academy graduate, it's the only really option I can think of. Either way, the left-back situation still looks to be a bit of a headache. Yes, Marc Cucurella is brilliant and I wouldn't think about displacing him as the number 1, but that number 2 backup needs to be sorted out, because otherwise, as we're seeing right now, if Marc Cucurella gets injured, what are we going to do? So let's move away from that one into another interesting transfer story. Chelsea and Leeds are supposedly battling it out for the signature of ex-Man City academy graduate James McAtee. This just seems like a bit of a wild one, but I can sort of figure it out in my head, I think, and bear with me. So James McAtee was pretty good at Man City last season. He made 15 appearances, got 3 starts, scored 3 goals. 22 years old at the time. I remember some prolific Man City YouTubers were waxing lyrical about him, really, really liked him, but ultimately he was sold this season to Nottingham Forest for 30 mil. Now, that's gone really badly for him at the end of the day, because essentially he's played under 3 different managers and really, really, really struggled to get game time. He's only made 6 appearances in the league for Nottingham Forest this season, one of which was a start, and has no goals and no assists in the league. So he's not doing particularly well, and they paid 30 mil for him. So it's a bit of a strange one for us to be linked with him at the end of the day when he's basically done nothing. The only reason I could see this happening is if he's super cheap. If we can get James McAtee for 10, 15 mil, which would be a massive loss for Nottingham Forest, so I'm not convinced. Okay, maybe I understand it if we're looking at sending Facundo Buonanotte back to Brighton. That's the only thing that makes sense for me. Supposedly, there's some idea that Maresca is interested in James McAtee because obviously they spent time together at Man City. I imagine Joe Shields has probably got something to do with this as well, because essentially what it looks like we hired Joe Shields for was, hey, Joe Shields, can you just sign us all of those young Man City academy graduates and get them into our team? And he was like, yes. Because we got Lavia, we got Delap, we got Cole Palmer, we've got Jamie Gittins was a Man City Academy graduate, Tosin Adarabioyo was a Man City Academy graduate. So Joe Shields' job so far seems to be get people who once played at Man City. I don't know whether the wage he's getting it really justifies that. I'm sure there's more to it in his job than that, but that seems to be all he's doing so far. And James McAtee looks to be the next on a long line of ex-Man City Academy graduates that we've bought. So I'm not convinced about this one, man. We do, mate. We need a Facundo Buonanotte style player, someone who can play in that number 10 and is kind of happy to rotate and trying to fight his way into the team. The problem with a Facundo Buonanotte is because he's on loan, you're never going to invest that much in him at the end of the day. If you're looking at him and you're like, we're not going to buy this guy, then you're only going to play him when you absolutely have to. James McAtee, if he was bought, at least would be given more opportunities, you would have thought, but I'm not even 100% sure, to be honest. Again, most of these transfer stories that we're talking about at the moment really stink of awful decisions made by the ownership that are not reaping rewards and are coming back to bite us later on. The Yorbe Hato purchase seemed like a really good idea. Now we're looking at loaning him back and still leaving us without left-back depth. Loaning Facundo Buonanotte seemed like, okay, we just need to get a body in, and we did it because we absolutely had to. In the same time, we were talking about Xavi Simons and Fermin Lopez, and maybe James McAtee is the answer to that now, but is he good enough? Not really. Like, look at what we're struggling with in our first team at the moment. Surely, we've already got the depth players. Do you know what I mean? And we don't need more depth players. We need more first teamers. He's 23 years old, so he just kind of fits in the profile, I guess. And maybe Maresca thinks he can get a better tune out of him than Nuno did at Nottingham Forest, or whoever their interim manager was, and now Sean Dyche. So, what a bloody nightmare, right? We've just made so many signings that we've created issues that we've had to deal with, right? And at the end of the day, this whole Facundo Buonanotte, James McAtee situation just seems to be another one I don't particularly think is going to bolster the squad. It's just going to replace a body with a body, and it's only worth it, by the way, if we can get him for really cheap. If we pay 30 mil for James McAtee, that isn't going to go down well with the fans. But let's move on to something that might go down well with the fans. Unfortunately, it's not a January transfer as far as the story goes so far, but rumours are recirculating. We are interested in re-signing Antonio Rudiger on a free transfer in the summer. I think that's a good idea, man. I think that's a good idea. I don't know if just getting him would be enough. Like, if we're going to shift out Badiashile, Disasi, Tosin and bring in Rudiger, Fofana, Chalobah, Levi Colwill, Achiampong sounds pretty good, to be honest. At the end of the day, that isn't a terrible sounding collection of centre-backs at all, but I don't think Antonio Rudiger is the guy that's going to come and fix the problems, do you know what I mean? But what it would be is experience, winning mentality, and someone who kind of knows the club already, so it's not going to be really difficult for him to settle back in. He's played in the Prem already, and like I say, that experience is just going to be invaluable for the players around him. I'd love to see Tony Rudiger back at Chelsea, don't get me wrong, and if we can get him on a free transfer, I think that could be a great bit of business. The only worry about Antonio Rudiger is he spent a long time out injured this season and a little bit last season as well. So at the end of the day, if it's a free transfer, it's not going to hurt so much. But as far as free transfers go, is Antonio Rudiger better than Tosin Adarabioyo? You'd have to think yes. And we're going to wrap up today's video with one more potential outgoing that we might see in January if we are lucky. It is Raheem Sterling, and there is noise that Crystal Palace are interested in bringing him on board. So ideally, Crystal Palace would like to buy someone younger. We've seen the profile of attacking players they like to buy and develop with the likes of Eze and Michael Elise. They've done it really, really, really well. But obviously, buying in January is difficult. We all know buying in January is difficult. So as far as a short-term fix goes, it seems like they're interested in getting Raheem Sterling to come and play in Crystal Palace. Now, this works and doesn't work for a couple of reasons. The reason it works largely is because of Raheem Sterling's preference to stay in London. That's been a really big thing for him. He turned down moves to Saudi Arabia and America in the summer because he wanted to stay at least in the UK, but ideally wants to stay in London. The whole rhetoric that's coming out surrounding Raheem Sterling at the moment is he wants security for his family. His family lives in London, he's settled in London, and he'd literally rather not play football than move somewhere abroad. I don't know if he'd move, like there was links with Leeds a little while ago. I'm not sure if he would turn down and move up north, but ultimately his massive preference is to stay in London. And if he could go to Crystal Palace, he'd definitely get game time. He's 31 now, do you know what I mean? That's really crept up on us, hasn't it? But at the end of the day, his contract is until 2027. The problem that arises with this is the money. He's on 300k a week. If it was a half-season loan, yeah, okay, maybe you could see Crystal Palace going, okay, we're not buying him, we're going to, that's still a huge amount of money though, man, that's still a huge amount of money. And if it does happen, ultimately I foresee something similar to the situation we had with Raheem Sterling to Arsenal, where we covered 100k, 150k, we covered like half of his wages and Arsenal covered the other half. I think an arrangement like that could benefit Raheem Sterling. Ultimately though, what we'd rather is a sale, but I don't think any of the London clubs are going to come in with 300k and some money up front for Raheem Sterling at the moment, are they? I am worried, to be completely honest. unless a miracle happens, that we're not going to see the back of Raheem Sterling at Chelsea until his contract runs out, and that's still more than a season away. Do you know what I mean? It's still more than a season away, so it's going to be a really long time. So it'd just be good to get him out of the squad anyway, I guess. I don't know. It's... maybe it helps us, gives us a little bit of financial wiggle room to sign someone in January, just based on the wages stuff, because 150k is well above our normal wage cap at the moment. So if we do, imagine we're going for a James McAtee, although I'm still really not convinced about that at all. He's not going to be on 150k a week, so you would be able to pay him, you'd save all of that, do you know what I mean, just from getting Raheem Sterling out and subsidising at least half of his wages, if not probably 2/3. It just depends on what Crystal Palace are able to pay at the end of the day, doesn't it? So I'm not sure quite how much that would affect our ability to do stuff in January, but we will have to wait and see. So guys, the game against Bournemouth is tomorrow, and I'd really like to know what you think about it. Liam Delap is back, Esteval Willian is back. Okay, Mark Cucurella might be out, but that's not necessarily the end of the world, because what we saw from the Bournemouth game last time is we need someone to score goals against them. João Pedro got one, sort of, against Aston Villa. Reece James is going to play, and he's been on really good form recently. Cole Palmer seems to be slowly getting back to his best, albeit I was a bit surprised he didn't get 90 minutes against Aston Villa. But let me know your predictions in my comments, and if you've got any ideas about the starting 11, get them in there as well. Nice one, guys. I'm going to wrap the video up there. Thank you very much for sticking around until the end if you did. And guys, if you enjoyed this video and are chilling and want to listen to some more Stamford Sync, check out this massive video I recorded yesterday with my good friend Kai from Behind the Dugouts. We went through the entire Chelsea squad, ranking them all about whether we think they should stay, whether they're elite, whether they should go. It was a great time, and you should check it out. Take it easy, guys. Peace.